Yo, what's going on, everybody? So, I wanted to hop on here today and tell you the story of a date I went on with a girl I ended up hooking up with, but it was an absolute disaster. The night was crazy. I ran into some very weird people, and there were some pretty embarrassing moments on my behalf. Now, this wasn't a first date, this was a girl that I already met. We had met in residence, we had been hanging out for a little bit at this point, but this was the first time that just me and her went out and partied together, just the two of us. So we were hanging out in residence. It was like a random Tuesday night. Everyone else was being lame, going to bed early for class. And honestly, I probably should have done the same. I had a test in the morning at like 8 a.m. for one of my new programs. But when you've got an attractive girl all over you asking to go out and party, there was no way I was saying no to that. In high school, I wasn't exactly a ladies' man. I wasn't killing it. So to have this girl who was actually into me, wanting to hang out and drink, I thought that was like the coolest shit in the world. The bar we were headed to that night was in Quebec. There's an area called Hull, which is just a bunch of bars, and that's where everyone went. These bars were super greasy. I remember one time I was sitting at a bar, and one of the bartenders wrote on a chalkboard, I put LSD in one of the beers, and I don't remember which one. So that's the kind of vibe we were headed for this night. Once we got on the bus, things got a little greasy. We both had a buzz going, and there was just a lot of PDA. If you happened to be one of the poor souls sitting near us that night, I apologize because we were being gross. The ride from our residence to this bar, like I said, was about 40 minutes with a transfer, and the whole way there, this girl was literally all over me the entire way. And listen, I'm not gonna lie, with her being, very affectionate, I'll call it, I was rock hard. Basically, for this entire story, just assume I was rock hard. Like the whole night. I was desperately trying to tuck it on the bus to hide it because we weren't even sitting, we were standing. So the entire bus could clearly see that I had a full on like situation, a stiffy. Now, like I said, I met some weird people this evening, and the very first one that I ran into, it was at that bus transfer. It was in the core of Ottawa. If you're from the city, it was at the bus stop that's right below the Rideau Mall Bridge at the McDonald's, where basically every crackhead in the city lives. I could make a whole video on that McDonald's. It was absolutely insane in there. One time I watched a dude get like tackled and arrested in line, and then literally the officers let him still get his meal. They just had him in handcuffs and they all waited together for his number to be called. Wild. So I was standing outside of that McDonald's waiting for the bus with this girl, trying to be all like cutesy, holding hands, and some homeless dude had a bag of cookies and he was just throwing them at the back of my head. I was trying like not to acknowledge it because I didn't want to make the situation worse. He didn't look like someone I wanted to get in an altercation with, but he was just continually chucking these fucking cookies at me and at other people as they walked by. He also didn't seem like he was really in a position where he should be wasting food. Eventually, we make it to this bar, and like I said, the clientele in Hall was quite the mix. It was basically just underage kids and super old alcoholic dudes who were there to hit on underage girls and were on like the verge of dying from liver failure. This specific night, though, since it was like a random weekday, the alcoholic dudes seemed to have the kids outnumbered by a mile. We grabbed a booth near the bar top, and right next to us, there was this guy slumped over. He's completely gone. He was actually there all the time, but he would turn around to us this evening and try and say something, but he was one of those alcoholics that just sounded like, nah, you guys, like he could not form any sentence whatsoever. He ended up just pissing himself on the bar stool, and the bouncers came and threw him out. There was a guy sitting beside that hammered dude who got thrown out, and he was also an old guy who was super drunk, but he was going around trying to do like magic tricks for people, specifically girls way younger than him. Eventually, he came over to me and the girl, and he was trying to show us like all these card tricks. He was messing them up though. Like, I thought it was hilarious. She was kind of uncomfortable, but I knew I had the situation under control, so I was kind of like egging him on, trying to get him to do more because, again, I thought it was hilarious that he was failing. He got frustrated and left us alone. Throughout the night, though, I just kept seeing this guy going up to different girls in the bar trying to show them magic tricks. Me and this girl were doing that thing where you sit on the same side of the booth instead of like across from each other, being all coupley, cutesy. We were ordering double rum and coke, screwdrivers, getting hammered. And of course, I'm still fully torqued. This bar was split in half. One side was the actual bar, the other was a club. So we'd drink for a bit, then go dance, then come back and get more drinks, just doing that back and forth all night. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to dance well, torqued, but it's not easy. Like if you're dirty dancing, I guess it's fine, but if you're just normal dancing, it's super awkward. I'm out there trying to like play it cool, desperately trying to hide it, but I was absolutely hammered and there's no way I was pulling it off. Just me out there on the dance floor in jeans, fully torqued, surrounded by people, thinking I was killing it when in reality I probably looked like a complete idiot. And you might be wondering like, dude, why were you hard for so long? Well, like I said, I was a young buck. I wasn't exactly used to getting like this action back in the day, and this girl was being very aggressive all night, which obviously I did not mind one bit. I went outside at one point. Well, there was this massive guy outside. I had never seen him before. He was like 6'5", like 350 pounds, tatted head to toe, just gnarly dude. I bum a smoke off him. I'm talking to him. He thinks I'm cool. Obviously, he's drunk because he's trying to convince me like to get tattoos, telling me all these ideas that would look sick on me. I'm like 18 at this point and hammered. So he was trying to tell me, I don't know if you guys know the rum brand, like the alcohol brand. It's called Kraken. Well, he wanted to take the like mascot of that brand, the Kraken, and wrap it around my neck. So I'd basically have this like massive fucking octopus tattoo on my neck. And I was drunk and I was like, fuck yes. And he was telling me like where his apartment is and all this shit. And he was like pointing down the block to like a bunch of blacked out SUVs. And he's like, those are my boys and shit. Like they'll come through. They're just doing some other shit at another club. I later came to find out that his boys were just like pushing mad weight. And they were just going like bar to bar selling blow. And the bar I was in, it was called Mardi Gras. I don't even think it's still open these days, but they would just openly let people come in, take over the bathroom, and sell blow. So that's what this guy was doing. Our conversation continued for a while. I got kind of bored with the whole tattoo thing, but it really took a fucking out of nowhere left turn when he said, "Hey, I saw you were like with that girl inside." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Is that your girlfriend?" I didn't know where this was going, so I was like, "Yes. Yeah, she is. Why?" And he was like, "Yo, 20 grand. I'll give you 20 grand right now." And I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" He kept offering me like 20 and then it went up to $30,000 for her. He was like, "Just help me like trick her into getting into the SUV." And then immediately I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" And I got out of that conversation. I went inside. I told the bouncers because I was like, "Yo, this guy's weird as shit. What the fuck is this?" And the bouncers didn't care. I mean, they were obviously getting paid to let this dude sell blow in the bathroom. He was probably giving them some money on the side. So they weren't concerned with it at all. He didn't bother us again. Luckily, I don't know what he was going on about. I don't know if that was just like a false claim or if that was like real. I don't even know if I can say it on YouTube, trafficking. But way later down the line, like way later, I was walking around Quebec again during like this festival. I was with a bunch of my friends and I saw they were doing like an open mic challenge where you could do comedy or singing or whatever. And that dude got on stage and tried to rap and he got booed off stage. He was terrible. So fuck that guy. Me and this girl just kept drinking. And by this point, the bar was basically closing. It was also pouring rain outside. This was only our second week living in the city, like I said, so we didn't know the bus schedules and we definitely didn't have the foresight to check them. So it's 2 a.m., bars closing, and none of the buses we needed to get back from Quebec were running. Our only option was to walk all the way back to the Rideau Mall, that transfer we had taken earlier. That was about a 40-minute walk if you were sober and moving fast. We were neither, so it took us forever. Eventually, we're crossing the bridge from Quebec back into Ottawa, and we stop halfway to take a break on a bench. We're soaking wet, getting a little handsy with each other. But then I noticed this like shadowy figure coming down the bridge towards us, and it's a bit eerie because again, it's like 3, 4 a.m., pouring rain. We're in the middle of nowhere on a bridge, and this figure starts crossing the road heading right towards us. Well, guess what? You'll never believe it. It was our old friend, the magician. He pulled off his first successful trick and appeared literally out of nowhere. But at this point, obviously, I was like no longer egging him on or entertained. I was creeped out, and so was the girl. So I was like, dude, are you following us? Like, what the fuck are you doing here? But he literally just started trying to show us tricks again. And that was super weird. So I was like, dude, you need to get the fuck away from us. I'm pretty hammered. So I was kind of like getting in his face at this point. He said some things to me that I can't repeat on YouTube. He also said some heinous things to the girl I was with and then left us alone. So I don't know, maybe like 5 out of 10 magician. Eventually, we get back to that bus transfer we took way earlier in the night. And like I said then, it's where all the crackheads in the city live. So at this point, it's like 4:30 in the morning, which is basically their 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So that place was bumping. It was alive. I mean, they were everywhere. We were getting swarmed. I was trying to keep this girl close to me, trying to like shield her from them, but there was this one specific lady who kept getting really close to us, and she was like all cut up and bloody, like scabs, track marks, and she was holding a needle in her hand, and she was just tweaking out. So every single time she got close to us, I had a pack of smokes on me, and I would just whip out a dart and give it to her. She was like very thankful, and then she would kind of walk away for a minute or two and then slowly start making her way back towards us. So every single time she came close to us, I was just like, hey, you want another smoke? And she'd be all happy and take it. I ended up giving this lady like the entire pack while we were waiting for the bus just to keep her at bay, keep her as far away from us as possible. I think we got back to our residence at like 5:30 in the morning. It was extremely late. We went back to the girls' room and we kind of like decompressed for a moment. It was a wild night. A lot of shit went down, but it was finally time. It was finally time to do the deed. And I was way ahead of the game. I had been prepared for like the past fucking 8 hours, but of course, right when I finally needed it, my dick decided it was time to clock out. It decided that enough was enough. And also, to be honest, it was kind of in pain. I'm not going to lie. It was hard for so long that I was literally in pain. I think decompressing from like all the wild shit that had just went down and it being in pain, I was way too distracted to keep it up, which was devastating because, I tried. She was kind of like, oh, it's okay. It's no big deal. And I was like, no, it is a big deal. But regardless, I just, how do I say, serviced her and took myself out of the picture this time. At this point in my life, I was not used to sleeping with anybody, and I don't mean like sex. I mean literally sleeping in the same bed, like cuddling. Like I had no experience doing that. So it was not very comfortable, and I was like a million degrees, still sweating from being hammered. So I didn't sleep at all until like 20 minutes before my alarm was going to go off anyways. If you remember, I said I had a test at like 8 a.m. Well, I finally fell asleep. I slept through my alarm, so did she, and I woke up an hour into the test. I freaked out. I ran straight from her room all the way over to the building the test was in. By the way, it was literally the furthest building on campus from the residence. I was so gassed. I get in there. It was an architecture course, and I had a lot of like math and different types of scales and drawing. Well, I brought nothing. I didn't have a ruler, no pencil, no calculator, nothing. So I was screwed. I had to book it all the way back to my residence, into my room, get all my shit, run all the way back to this building. It took forever. I felt like I was going to throw up because I was still like hammered from the night before. I ended up getting in there, and the professor was basically making fun of me, being like, you're wasting your time in this class. I have 15 minutes to do the test. I was like, watch me. Yeah, I failed. I got a 0. Anyways, if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Peace.